Hello and welcome to the Cook Memorial Public Library podcast, where we invite you to spend a few minutes with the staff at Cook Library. I'm Nate Goss, and I am here today with Jenny, our local history librarian. On this podcast, we regularly do book picks, where we recommend a book to check out. We also frequently share local history stories and trivia, but today we have a special treat because Jenny is going to combine the two into a local history Libertyville book pick. So welcome back to the podcast, Jenny.
Thank you very much. I've been bitten by the podcast bug.
Yeah, this is what your
number
three. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
So you're becoming a regular at this point.
Yes, I am.
Which is great. So I understand that you were actually going to share with us today your favorite book about Libertyville.
Yes. So my favorite book about liberal history is called Libertyville Illustrated. It was actually originally published in 1897 as a booster publication. It's more of a long pamphlet talking about the wonders of Libertyville, both from a residential standpoint, from an environmental standpoint, a business standpoint. Why is Libertyville the greatest place on earth?
So let me stop you there. So 1897. So this is more like a primary source. It's not so much like someone now writing about the history of Libertyville.
Exactly. And that's actually one of the reasons it's my favorite is because it's of the time. So it's closer to the things that it's actually writing about than if we were to write about it today.
Okay. So, and who's the author of this, Libertyville Illustrated?
It's attributed to a man named C.C. Copeland, who part of his land ended up being Copeland Manor subdivision on the east side of Libertyville. We don't have a specific attribution, but from reading it and some of the prose, it leads one to think that it might be him. And I actually have an example of that here, where he talks about himself.
Okay.
If it's him writing, he's talking about himself. This forest is the property of C.C. Copeland, a man as unique in tastes and character as the forest and tangled wild wood within which he makes his summer home. Mr. Copeland regards Libertyville and its environments as the most beautiful and healthful country place that he has ever visited, and a passing notice of him will emphasize his judgment by showing his ability to intelligently reach it.
So it's not only speaking very highly of Libertyville, but also speaking very highly of C.C. Copeland.
It is. There's actually, then he goes on to talk about C.C. Copeland for about 3 or 4 pages. Now compare that to someone like Ansel B. Cook, who by 1897 was just a year away from his death, but a very prominent member of Libertyville. He gets about a half a page.
So modest.
He is, yes, but a very nice prose. And I think that gives you a sample of how the rest of the book is going to read.
So he's essentially writing this just to kind of talk about how much he loves Libertyville, or?
I would say so. I mean, I'm not sure how it was used, whether it was how it was distributed, if it was really used as sort of a Chamber of Commerce type of publication, but he just sings the praises of Libertyville in all ways.
But Libertyville of 1897.
Correct.
So do you have maybe a section or something that you really want to share that really highlights why this is your favorite book about Libertyville?
Yeah, I think one of the things people don't know today about Libertyville is that one of Libertyville's claims to fame, and actually Mr. Copeland thinks it's the claim to fame in 1897, was its water. There are about 7.5 pages, maybe 8 pages dedicated to the clear mineral springs and also the sulfur springs that were surrounding Libertyville. And I'll just tell you a little bit about those springs here. Like the sulfur water, this water is potent in its effects upon the skin, the blood, the mucous membranes in general, and those of the air passages in particular, and also upon the liver and whole portal region. I'm not sure what portal region is.
I don't know if I want to know.
And then it lists a number of things that it can fix, some of which I cannot pronounce, so I'll skip over them. But its effect upon disorders of the skin is remarkable. Almost innumerable cases of eruption, hives, eczema, and other kindred diseases having been permanently cured by its use. It not only cures affections of the skin, but leaves the patient fresh and rosy as a pitcher.
Wow. So forgive me for maybe being a little ignorant, but I don't think I've ever heard of Libertyville's sulfur springs. Where would these have been located?
Well, the sulfur springs were actually located over by what is today the Rockland Road Bridge, which also just happens to be on C.C. Copeland's land.
I see.
He was part of the company, I believe, that bottled the sulfur water. There were other people who were bottling the mineral water. Frederick Grabby is the man who is most known in Libertyville for Urbana spring water. He's the first one to really commercialize and bottle and sell the clear spring water. And that's actually mentioned by a celebrity of the time. His name was Charles Nestel. He was known as Commodore Foote, and he also had a little sister named Eliza. And they were friends of one of the hoteliers in town, Mr. Kern. And this is what they had to say about the water. I have traveled all over Europe, said the Commodore, and visited nearly all its famous watering resorts, but I have never drank water to compare with that of Libertyville. Every day I visit the Hygienia Spring, which later became Abana Spring, so this is the clear mineral water, and drink its water here in the hotel. I have derived great benefit from it, added his sister. During the past 2 months, I have gained 8 pounds, which is considerable for one who never weighed more than 60 pounds. I have been almost constantly traveling for 25 years and more, but never discovered such a charming village as Libertyville, which I have visited many times.
Wow, so it's even a weight gainer.
It gains weight, which I guess is a good thing when you're only 60 pounds.
Sure.
But, celebrity testimonials in 1897.
Yeah, that's really fascinating also because, so this also shows that people were already bottling water back in 1897. I think I kind of always thought of bottled water as kind of a newer phenomenon, but here right in Libertyville, we were selling bottled water.
Well, especially during this time, it was quite a health craze. So there's lots of springs around, many of which are no longer in existence. One that is still in existence is down in French Lick, Indiana. There's still a sulfur spring there. But around this time, around the turn of the century, health resorts based on the water at that location was a very big deal and big travel destinations.
Do you have anything else you want to share? Or maybe another story from the book at all?
Yeah, I'll just finish up with the last paragraph, just to give you a sense of the writing style. Again, probably C.C. Copeland says, favored with the most fruitful soil, salubrious climate, pure and health-giving waters, splendid roads, excellent railway facilities, beautiful surroundings, and an industrious, public-spirited population, Libertyville is surely destined to move steadily and rapidly forward and become known throughout the West as a splendid town for money-making, an ideal place of residence, and one of the best health resorts in the entire country.
It's quite the paradise.
It is. Libertyville is a great place in 1897.
Yeah,
so
it's still a great place.
It
maybe
is.
Not to quite that degree, but
I think Libertyville's done very well in the last 100-plus years.
Yeah.
So, besides the writing, which I just love because it's very of its time, the printed book that we have, which is actually a re-edition that was put out in 1993, has pictures of many of the big houses of the time.
It is Libertyville Illustrated after all.
It is illustrated as well. And not only do we have several print copies that can be checked out in our circulating collection, we've also digitized it as well. So it is available online through the Illinois Digital Archives. Should someone hear this podcast and not be able to get into the library, they could get to it online as well.
And what's the easiest way to get to the Illinois Digital Archives?
Sure. Well, the direct link to it is www.idaillinois.org. But you can also get to it through our local history page. It's under postcards, pictures, and I can't remember exactly what the link says, but that will link you to the Illinois Digital Archives as well.
Cool. And I really like that we actually have copies that people can take home and check out with them. So really hope listeners of the podcast take advantage of this. Anything else you want to add about the book?
I know not necessarily about the book. Just to follow up on a couple other resources we have on Libertyville history. If you're looking for something covering, a more recent time, we have a Libertyville book by Jim Moran, which has lots of photographs with descriptions. There's also Libertyville Then and Now, which has pictures of the 1950s versus pictures of those same buildings in the 2000s. That was written by a couple of our librarians. So, if you want to go from 1897 to 2007 or something like that. We have different resources that'll cover that.
All right. Well, you've given us a lot that we can think over and a great book pick as well. I just want to thank you, Jenny, for once again sharing some of Libertyville's rich history and also giving us a book to add to our reading list.
I hope you go out and get it.
All right, so if you'd like to reserve a copy of Libertyville Illustrated by possibly C.C. Copeland, we're not quite sure, but we think so, visit our website at www.cooklib.org and search the title in our online catalog. While you're there, don't forget to also visit Shelf Life, the library's blog. Jenny, along with some of our other librarians, do some great blog posts there about local history and Libertyville history, so definitely worth checking out. That blog's address is shelflife.cooklib.org, and if you are in particular interested in the history section, there's a section on the blog called The Past is Present. If you ever want to get in touch and leave some feedback, the door is always open. Send us a message. Webmaster@cooklib.org is where you can send that feedback. And if you are enjoying this podcast, as always, we want to ask you to just keep spreading the word and maybe even leave us a kind rating on iTunes. We will be back soon, but until then, keep reading, keep watching, and keep listening.